Well, hello again, everybody on YouTube. Today, at the Treeberry Memorial Library, we have a rare treat. I was looking through fanfic.net for what to do today on Fridays, and well, I found something special. Yes, today we have a story as done by, drumroll please, Littlekuriboh. Yeah, we brought the foaming mouse guy just for this. Yes, we are doing a live read of Littlekuriboh's fics today. I hope you all enjoy this because heavens knows I probably will. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as the Treeberry Memorial Library presents to you Twist. Twist by Littlekuriboh. For White Ash 001. Amidst the scarred cards they stood, locked together in an ugly embrace. Bakura's legs buckled as he drove the knife forward, his jacket whipping at his sides like something out of a Frank Miller graphic novel. Terrible words passed between his lips as the blade made quick work of its target, passing between flesh and blood muscle and sinking deeply into unsuspecting organs. With a single twist, it reached its gruesome apex, and the blood inevitably followed. "So, this is your happy ending," he commented wryly. "Nice touch, eh?" The pharaoh stared into the soulless eyes. Not a trace of regret or redemption. The hatred he perceived was matched only by the pain he now felt, as the knife gouged away at the emptiness within him, while once there had been purity and restraint. He could feel his very life force passing away in the nameless alleyway. He could hear the words spoken by his ancestors as they called to him, as they did so every day of his spiritual existence, asking him to throw down what remained of his mortal coil and join them in the other place. But not this day. He could not face them, not after what they had allowed Bakura to do, not after that betrayal. "You monster!" he cried. "Yuki was innocent! Innocent! And his innocence is precisely what damned him to this." A hand lashed out and cut Bakura across the side of his face. A weak attempt at a strike, but a strike all the same. His expression was unchanging, malicious, contemptuous, joyful, and cold. The pharaoh roared, pulling his left arm back violently and hurling a vengeful fist into the wall beside Bakura's head. Still, the knife remained firmly planted in between their bodies, representing the connection that had bound their destinies together through antiquity, death, murder, and revenge. Again the knife was twisted. The pharaoh couldn't tell if the groaning noise that followed came from his mouth or Bakura's, or perhaps both. Agony racked his body, and he resisted the temptation to vomit as his once proud posture became mutilated into a shambling, angry stance. The stance of a man on hopeless insanity. For Yuki was gone. "You chose to play my shadow game," Bakura chuckled, teeth like fangs glinting softly in the twilight. "It's not my fault you didn't study the rules carefully enough." Bakura reached into his pocket, and the pharaoh half expected him to draw yet another weapon. Instead, he revealed a change of heart trading card, clutching it between his slender fingers like a grim reaper, showing him what few grains of sand remained before it was time to pass on. "It was our hosts that were at stake. Surely you knew this. Innocence, pharaoh. That was the key word in our little tete-a-tete. And you lost yours long ago. So why would you be crying over such an inevitable outcome?" Once more, the knife made its sickening rotation, like a clock counting towards midnight. "It wasn't right to use them like this!" The pain was unbearable. Without Yuki, it was as if a piece of him had gone missing, the piece that balanced his very being. Inside of him, there was an uncontrollable river that constantly threatened to engulf him, mind, body, and soul, and Yuki had been the bridge that spanned it, allowing him to regard it with cool indifference. Now the bridge had collapsed, and he was drowning in it. "You cannot be allowed to go unpunished!" "Then punish me!" Bakura laughed, the back of his head cracking repeatedly against the wall as he relished in his enemy's suffering. Both their hands were on the knife now. their eyes burning with a fire that neither had witnessed in any of their duels. Had Yugi still lived, the Pharaoh would never have let them witness this side of himself. But he was gone, lost to the shadows. The game had come to an end. Punish me for what you did to him. Do it if you can, Pharaoh, for I very much doubt you have it in you anymore. Then the knife slid, like a dog backing out of its kennel upon hearing its name. They were scuffling over the wet blade, blood still pouring over the wound. Bakura dove her knees somewhere soft and sensitive, and the Pharaoh doubled over with a disappointed wheeze. Then it was his turn to fight back, planting the palm of his hand solidly into Bakura's ever-laughing face, and driving it into the wall with such a force that the very brickwork seemed to crack. The knife fell into the puddle, and Bakura followed suit. "Coward!" bellowed the Pharaoh, standing over him as he once called his nemesis. Now other words came to mind: snake, murderer, assassin, monster. "Bakura, get up!" He gripped Bakura by the arm and wrenched it backwards, enlisting a few unenthusiastic moans. "I want you to look at me in the eye and beg for forgiveness." Bakura stared out down, one eyelid trembling as if he were struggling to comprehend the Pharaoh in a new light. This vengeful, driven force that had grabbed him and thrown him to the wall struck him down, and now he wished to hear what was essentially an apology, and promised never to do it again. It was enough to make him laugh. "Forgiveness? What is there to forgive?" Blood was escaping his body quicker than before. He had often been the one to draw his own blood. Until then, nobody ever done it for him. "I'm proud of you, Pharaoh. I am proud of us both. We were true to ourselves until the very end. When you stabbed me, you justified everything that I've ever set forth to accomplish. I thank you for that. But forgiveness?" He laughed a final time, blowing wood between his teeth as the internal injury took hold. "I asked for no such thing." The Pharaoh watched as his greatest enemy died a slow, painful death. The knife had not been his to use, but he had taken it. As soon as he felt Yuki's soul fade from existence, he lost all reason, all sense, all humanity. So he took the knife from Bakura, just as Bakura had taken Yuki from him. And without thinking, he proceeded to stab, gouge, to twist, just to make Bakura feel as empty as he did now. Then, as the pale sun began to rise, he held the knife close to him, and wept for what he had become. Oh god, this was haunting. I mean, really, no people, that's the end of the chapter. This was kind of haunting, really. Kudos, Littlekuriboh. I mean, sure, you kind of overdid it with the metaphors, like adding like in almost every 2 paragraphs, but once you got past that, the grammar and the story was really well written. This is a good way of looking into what if. This is a good way to interpret the what if portion of our story. Like, what if Atetmu had ever lost? What if Bakura ever let himself go? Because, 4 kids and all that, but we also know that Atetmu is the one who never loses. He only lost once. Twice if you're going by the anime, but the anime doesn't care. But I don't like that filler. Who does? Anyway, and this also kind of harkens back to the way the manga originally was. Because if you remember, the original manga was full of torture, death, mind rape, and the like. So to see this and see Bakura do this kind of makes you remember just what it was that Watsuki was doing with the original manga before the card games became prominent, and reminds us that there is more to this fic and more to this game show than just the card games. It's just a shame that 4 Kids never shows it. It's just a shame that 4 Kids always dubs it about the card games. Still, this thing is kind of haunting, but the fanfic writer in me is kind of thinking right at this moment, what happened next? I mean, think about it, people. Yugi is Atetmu's soul. He's the one who holds Atetmu back. I mean, if you watch the original manga, or watch season 0, you've seen the tortures Atetmu could pull off, and that was when he had Yuki attached to him. But what would happen if, say, Yuki was lost? Atetmu's whole thing that held him back was lost. Let me put it this way. If Yuki hadn't been there, Kaiba would be dead. Plain and simple. A lot of people would be dead. Because Atetmu wouldn't have Yuki's kindness. So I'm just thinking of what would happen. I mean, first off, the Reaper cousins, we've got, like, say, Taya, Jonichi, and Honda all finding out. Then you've also got exactly what will happen to Yuki's body if Atetmu ever tried to gain his memories back, or did the whole entire thing. Or tried to do that whole entire final duel. Would any of them do it? Would Atetmu want to get his memories back, and would he want to go through the whole entire test? Would he want to stay there in honor of Yuki? What would Atetmu say to Yuki's mom? Because remember, Yuki has his mother. We've seen her in one episode that 4 kids cut out for no good reason. I mean, what would happen to her? Would she accept the fact that this is still Yuki? Would she break? Would Atetmu just lie and say, Oh, hello, mother. Yes, I'm still okay. I just decided to get a new hairstyle and have a more confident look, and I hit puberty. Would they accept Atetmu? I mean, technically, this is partly Atetmu's fault. And I'm kind of glad this doesn't have a setting. Because, oh Lord, where is this? I mean, because now I've got questions about where this was set. It doesn't set shortly before the role-playing arc. My favorite arc of the manga. You should all go read it. It is awesome. It totally got me into role-playing. If the role-playing arc happened, then how does everything that happened afterwards go? Will Pegasus die by Atetmu's hand? Or the people that Atetmu fought? Because remember, even with Yuki there were still some losses. I'll panic. But moving forward, what about Merrick and his goons? Yuki had to take over for Atetmu when he had to save the guy who got his legs cut off. Would Atetmu be so kind? Or would he just stand back and watch as that one guy got his legs severed and a smile of satisfaction across his face? Would Atetmu be enjoying his date with Nazu, or would he still be heartbroken? What about his fight with, say... What about his fight with, say, anything after Battle City during the finals? Would he be so nice to allow Kaiba to survive? Go ahead, add the Big 5 arc. Would Atetmu be kind to Noah? Or considering the fact that he has more magical power than Bakura or Merrick. Oh my gosh. Merrick wouldn't have much of a partner, would he? No! Not my beloved Bakura! No! Anyway. considering Atetmu's power, would he just let this whole interruption to his tournament, his goal, his duel slide? Or would he look at the Big Five and go, "You insolent whelps, you dared ruin my game! You destroyed my tournament! I am not going to be some sort of pawn for you five!" Sinhei. And he would kill them. Most likely Noah as well. Noah would be there crying, pleading, begging Atetmu to let him go, but as I said, remember, Yugi is Atetmu's restraint. Without that restraint, it is time to say goodbye to Yugi. And hello to the man who burnt a person alive because he threatened his friends. The man who mind-raped Kaiba. The man who destroyed another guy's sanity. The man who burnt another guy alive with an explosion. Who was willing to trap people in a maze of fire. Not the Yugi who was able to hold him back, but Atetmu, the Pharoh. That's another thing. What about Bakura? What about Merrick? Would Atetmu actually come up with a strategy where both would survive? What would Merrick's game be without? What would Evil Merrick's end game be without Shadow game be without that additional little Yugi? Remember, it was a contest of souls. Heck, how would Jaden respect Atetmu? So many questions come up from just this little ending alone. And I almost feel like if I almost feel like begging Littlekuriboh, please add a little more to this, because this is a good haunting way to end. But I'll just take this good haunting ending and leave you, the audience, to decide. Did Atetmu let it go? Did he just let it go of his rage and became the Dark Pharoh of old? Or did he, in honor of Yugi, hold back? And what about Merrick? Did he get Bakura's loyalty? Actually, that raises another question. Where's the Millennium Ring now? Does Yugi own it? Or does Shadi? That's another person that needs to pop up, needs to be asked. Will Shadi pop up after this? So many questions pop up from this, and I guess that what makes it good. And once again, we can see what you could do as a good fanfic writer. Sometimes these type of questions pop up, and that's the part of all the fun. So, thank you, and oh my gosh, I just realized I don't have a piece of fan art for Yu-Gi-Oh! That I could use on this. Oh gosh, what am I going to do? Okay, I'll come up with another Sailor Moon fanfic next week for all of you to enjoy. Maybe another Sailor Moon or Buffy or Sailor Moon Kim Possible. I'll see you guys next time. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Where's my Yugi fan?